How are we doing? How are we doing? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you're connecting from. Welcome to this new masterclass on a topic that very few people. We talk throughout the year, but we still like to set aside some time to discuss all the modules that Bitrix has, right? Every month, generally, I like to give you a new topic that I've never covered before. And I also like to give you a topic from a module we've already taught before, kind of to give it an update. We've already covered this one for 2 years in a row, but there are always new things and we keep finding more uses for it. So, well, let's go ahead and give it an update now. So, welcome everyone. And as always, let me greet you because I feel bad if I don't say hello. Let me know in the comments below which city you're connecting from and also which company you're with so that I can personally greet you. I'll just tell you that I'm currently in Ecuador right now. I'm traveling to the United States on Friday where I'll be staying for a few weeks and then I'll come back to continue my work here in Ecuador. Looking forward to hearing from all of you. So I'm really happy. 2 weeks ago, I was in Bogota and I had the great responsibility of taking the president of Bitrix and the managers out for a little tour. So I was there. I acted as their host, even though I'm not Colombian, but I was there. I took them to the Zipaquira salt mine and we had a great time. Then, of course, we went to the Mus to visit Andres Carne de Res in Chia. And I liked it because I already knew them. I met them in October. But this time I was able to spend the whole day with them, you know. I was there with them, connecting, talking, and I really enjoy understanding what goes on in the minds behind Bitrix, you know. So I'm going to share a bit with you about where things are headed as well for our companies. But first, I want to greet you all. First, I want to say hello because what's coming up is going to be really great. So I'm going to start with some greetings. I see Rosario is connected here from Lima, Peru. It's so nice to see you, Rosario. Glad you're connected. We just spoke recently, and I really like what you're doing with your company. I think it's amazing, and I'll throw out some ideas for you to see what you can apply from today's topic to your business as well. We're also joined here by Juan from Monterrey, Nuevo León. Welcome, Juan, as well. Ricardo is also connected here from Texas. Welcome, my brother. We're in that implementation process with you. That Bitrix is going to turn out great, huh? It's going to be amazing. Ready to make a splash over there in the United States. And I won't be in Texas this time, but I will be in Florida, in Miami, and Orlando. But I have to make a little trip to Texas, huh? I've heard some really great things, and I want to see how things are over there. But another time, it won't be this time. Well, we're also joined here by Bernardo from Chile, Santiago de Chile. It's a pleasure to have you here, my brother. It's the first time I've seen you around here, so welcome. Don't miss a single one. Let's see. On the other network, we have our friend Eliana Zilet, also from Santiago de Chile. Excellent, Eliana. Welcome. And Maximiliano, on the other hand, is already on the list of regulars. No, Maximiliano hasn't missed a single masterclass all the way from Uruguay. This will be useful for you, Maximiliano, for anything related to internal processes, right? You'll understand it a bit better soon.
We're also joined by Natalie from Santo Domingo. Which Santo Domingo is it? Is it the one in Ecuador or Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic? Just let us know that. And also tell me your companies, what industry you're in, so I can give you some examples. Our friends from ILP, also from Ayacucho, Peru, which, by the way, I still need to visit, right? Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so. This year, I'll make a little trip over there. By the way, I don't know. Well, some of us already know each other from Instagram and we interact there. We built the Bitrix car. Go check out the story. It was the last story I posted about launching the Bitrix car, the first car to travel all over Latin America. It's a car that we've equipped just for that, you know? So we'll be closer to you all as well. Well, Diego is here from Guadalajara, Jalisco, the city. I was in Guadalajara, actually. I was in Zapopan over there. Very, very beautiful. I liked it a lot. I really did. I have to go back soon too. And joining us from the Dominican Republic, Natalie. Well, welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining. And as the dermatologist said, let's get straight to the point. All right, first, I'm going to explain a few concepts because most people don't even understand what RPAs are, but I'm going to break it down for you just the way I know you like it. So what exactly are RPAs and how do you use them in your daily work? How do you make use of the RPA function within Bitrix, right? To sum it up, in most companies, RPAs, short for Robotic Process Automations, are typically used to replace repetitive and time-consuming internal paperwork processes, such as handling approvals, managing document flows, or processing routine requests. These automations help streamline operations and reduce manual effort. I'll explain some specific examples of how this works in a moment. Before that, I want to invite those of you who haven't yet joined the largest Spanish-speaking Bitrix WhatsApp community to join us. Scan the QR code and join our community so you're always the first to know. Just scan it with your phone and you'll get all the updates about what's coming, among other things, okay? So now let's get started. Let's begin. In companies before, if you wanted to request some vacation time, you would usually have to actually write a little letter, right? Like, dear human resources, blah, blah, blah. Through this letter, I request authorization for vacation from April 18th to April 28th, since I will be taking a family trip, right? So you would send the letter and they would usually make you come in humiliated by your supervisor and human resources. Sometimes, if your supervisor already authorized it, then they would approve it, or sometimes human resources would deny it, or sometimes they would send it to general management for the final approval, among other things. But in any case, it all became very bureaucratic. I remember this very well. When I was at the Catholic University of Guayaquil and I was the president of all the students at the university, everything was handled like that, you know? It was all paperwork and waiting, and you had to go around asking, hey, by any chance, do you know if the travel expenses have been approved yet? No. And you had to keep begging, and it was such a waste of time until they finally gave you the check for the travel expenses, right? These were the processes, and it was the same for vacation requests, for loans, if you wanted to ask for an advance, if you wanted to request petty cash reimbursement, or to ask for expense or travel reimbursements. Horrible processes. But that was the way. There was a physical record that you requested it. They gave it to you. And then when they audited, they had to make sure everything was done with integrity. But definitely technology has certainly in many ways helped us to move on from and leave that in the past, on the one hand in particular. On the other hand, to make it completely transparent, for example, as you know, because with paper you can forge things, you can fake signatures, you can pretend you gave out travel allowances when it wasn't true, but once it's digital, you can't, because everything is recorded with a user and all that. So Bitrix used to allow, it had a feature where you could set up these kinds of processes in this way. But actually, it was a bit more complicated, and about 90% of companies simply didn't use it. So that's when, about 1 or 2 years ago, Bitrix created RPAs, because they said, look, this is useful, but most people don't use it because they don't understand it. So let's create something very simple so that not only 10% of Bitrix users use it, but 40, 50, or even 60%, because it really is a useful tool. And that's how, from something so complex that very few people understood, Bitrix went on to create this, which they called RPA, which stands for Robotic Process Automation. In other words, automated robotic processes, okay? And we're going to see it now. I'm going to show you how easy it is to set up, what you can use it for, and how you can manage it as such. Any questions or doubts you have, feel free to ask. And at the end, as always, we have a little gift for you. My team and I have prepared an ebook for you, a small ebook, so you have it as a reference when setting this up, about how to get the most out of RPAs as such. All right. Also, any questions or doubts you have, put them in the chat at the end. I won't close the room until I've answered all the questions and doubts we have about RPAs. Okay. So without further ado, let's get into the topic of RPAs. So here I have, I'm going to add this little screen. I'm going to remove this one here and add this other one for you. Look, see, here you can see, I have some Bitrix caps here for you. When I come to visit you, look, I have them in light blue, black, blue, and pink for the ladies, so you can have them. Well, later on, we'll see if we do some kind of contest or something, and I'll send you the little prizes. All right? So let's get started with the topic of RPAs. First, how do I access the RPAs? To get started, you should go to the top section of the Bitrix interface, which you can find at the upper part of your screen. Once you are there, look for the search bar or input field. In that area, type in the letters R, P, and A in that order. This will take you to the RPA section in Bitrix, where you can continue with your work. You simply enter RPAs at the top of Bitrix, and you'll be able to see all of this information and data here. So look how I go up here at the top and type RPA, and now I enter the RPA module. Before to configure this type of process, you could set it up so it would appear here, which is called Bitrix workflows, right? Here, you would set up a workflow and configure a loan request, right? Okay, so that's how it used to be requested, and you can still do it that way. You can still do it this way. But it's a bit more complicated, right? Or the other option is to work with RPAs, which is what we're going to look at next, where all the options you want will appear here, right? So let's go ahead and simulate with you all a salary advance request, okay? Let's see how we're going to set it up. So first, I'm going to select the new workflow here. I'm inside the RPAs. Look here, all of them show up for me. I'm going to go to the new workflow. All right, so in this section right here, we're going to enter the name that we want to use for this particular request. So for example, I want to make a formal request for the replacement of equipment, just to be clear. Okay, this means we are specifically asking to have some equipment replaced, and that's what we're going to do here. So let's suppose I have a very large company, and I want to say, all right, whenever anyone wants to request a replacement of equipment because it broke, because they feel, or a maintenance replacement, I want them to do it through here. Okay, so you go ahead and do it. You enter the name into the system, and then it asks you specifically who can actually initiate that particular workflow process. And here you say, I want only the sales team, the administrative staff, the accounting department, everyone who is authorized. And here it actually gives you the helpful option to create specific fields that must be filled out by the user so that you can properly and successfully start the process. So I can change the names, right? So I'm going to put, for example, let's edit it right here. I wanted to say, instead of just name, something like item to be replaced, for example, just to make it a bit more clear. I'm going to put item to be replaced. And here you can create more fields. For example, sorry. So I want to add a list. So I put type of equipment. So I can label it as equipment or tool. So I put a computer device on the list, and then I added some office furniture like a desk and a chair, office furniture that you would typically find in a workspace. Let's add another one to the list. Although honestly, I can't really think of anything else right now. Nothing specific comes to mind at the moment. Required, and I click save. So notice how I'm creating fields, And based on this, here it lets me choose who I want to have permission to edit the workflow. And I can add a little picture, right? So I'm going to select this one here, which is like a check mark. And I click save. For example, the K, if it were something related to vacations, you could put an S or just a regular document. You can add whatever logo you want. Done. I click save and a new RPA has been created. Obviously, it will be blank. I'll be able to configure all the stages I want. Notice how these stages appear for me automatically. So here, as you can see, I'm going to name this first one start. And this will be, I'll put request entry right here as well. And we'll keep on personalizing the stages of the process that we want to set up. So every single time an employee submits a request for something, I want the supervisor to carefully review it first before anything else happens. And if the supervisor gives their approval to the request, I want it to then go to purchasing. Actually, no, I want it to be approved at the next level, specifically approval by general management. And if general management, after their own review, approves it, then I want it to go to purchasing for final processing. Purchasing management, right? And once it goes to purchasing, I want it to then go to entry. Let's call it registration for now. No, actually entry into inventory. And after that, I'm going to add another stage that will be called, well, not this one, but something else later. Actually, let's go ahead and add, let's create two more stages, one of which, for example, might be called this one here. Instead of simply being labeled as approved, will now be called approved delivered, which means that the item or request has not only been approved, but also successfully delivered to the intended recipient or location. And this one here, I can also add additional loss stages to the process, such as rejected or purchase not approved. For example, it could be rejected because it wasn't found in the inventory, or perhaps it was marked as not found. These are all possible outcomes that can be tracked in the system as requested. So I'll also mark it there in red. So notice how I can create both won and lost stages as well. Okay. Or if I want to delete a stage, I just click here and remove it. See? It's that simple. I configure it just like that. So once I've set up the stages of the process I want, notice that here we also have automations, which we'll get to in a moment. Or I can configure the fields I want to be required throughout the process. So far, I created the element field and the type field. I can create more fields. For example, I want to require the quotation file to be uploaded. So up to this point, I'm going to add quotation number one. Okay, I'm going to create another one, in which let's suppose I want them to create up to 3 quotations. Quotation number 2, which I will refer to as number 2, is now being created. And in addition to that, I'm going to make another new one, which I will call quotation, specifically quotation number 3. Okay? All right. So now I click the save button, and you can notice that there they are, the quotations, both of them appearing in the list just as expected, showing up right where we want them to be. In fact, I'm actually going to create another field right here instead, which will also be for photos, for example, or I could ask for example, something like product link on the internet, just making something up as an example. I want to see that they find it on the internet and look it up as well. And I want, for example, to specifically require that they absolutely have to upload a clear and recent photo showing a picture of the damaged equipment as evidence in order to verify and document the issue. All right. So look at how it automatically creates some fields, and there I can add all the automations that I want to happen. You see? So for example, up to now, it's going to ask me for the item to be replaced and this, but I would also like it to ask me at this stage. I would also like it to ask me at this stage for the photo of the damaged equipment. You see? I'm going to click save. Now I'm going to go configure the automations for this process. Once I've created the request, you'll notice that here in this section, it will automatically move the request to the next stage in the workflow. This happens without any manual intervention, as you can see, making the process much more efficient and streamlined, right? Which is supervisor approval. So here I specify what I want the supervisor to do and look at all the stages I have. Request information, review the information, change the stage, move to another stage, add members, add a post to the feed, create a task, delete the item, generate a code, send an email, modify the item, modify the variable, get employee information. All those options are available to us. So I'm going to set it right here in this section so that as soon as the request is created, it will immediately need to be either approved or rejected by someone responsible. So I'm going to write here the phrase request for approval or rejection of equipment replacement. This is to formally document the process. Therefore, I kindly ask that you please take a moment to carefully review the following equipment replacement request. Your attention to this matter is important, and your feedback, whether it is an approval or a rejection, will be greatly appreciated. Is that okay with you? I can set conditions. I can specify the time frame that I consider appropriate. And here I select who is authorized to approve. I can select that it be the person's supervisor, which is what it would actually be. But since we're just doing an exercise right now, I'm going to set it so that the person who has to approve is me, for example, okay? Here it allows me to select under what criteria I want the authorization to be granted. Keep in mind that, for example, for vacation requests or purchase requests, here you can generate who are not just one person, but several people who can authorize these purchasing processes. And here I enter the name of the button, right? Approved. And if it gets approved, I select which stage I want it to move to. In this case, I want it to go to general. And if it gets rejected, have it sent to this stage as such. And here it will show me the fields that I want to be mandatory at this stage. So I don't want the quotations because purchasing will handle that, okay? The product link on the internet, I don't want that either. Let purchasing do it at the end. I just want the item, the type of equipment, and the photo. And I click save, and that's it. So if this is approved, it will send it to be approved by general management. So I'm going to copy this automation rule and put it here. And here, this will be the request that, let's say, I am also going to make, okay? Approved by management. If management approves it, then I want it to be sent to the purchasing department, okay? So management doesn't have to add anything either. I just set it up. I'm going to click the copy button now to duplicate this request. After I do that, the request will be sent over to the purchasing department for further processing. Let's say, for example, that Mateo is the person in the purchasing department who will receive it. Both Mateo and I will have the authority to review and approve this request, so either of us can give the final approval, okay? So I enter here the name. This one here is already set as purchasing, right? So what I need to do next is to specify the name. For example, it's going to be tender supplier search, just as an example. This means I'm entering the name for this particular process, making sure it's clear and descriptive. So I put here suppliers found, you see? And now I'm going to tell the purchasing team that they need to upload these 3 stages and also the product link from the internet here. And I click save. We're going to change this here as well. Done. So, and if likewise, I can create another one, for example, for approval. And I'm going to set this one to be instead inventory entry completed. So I select, for example, who I want to be the one to approve. In this case, the person responsible for entering it into inventory. Now all the variables have to be filled in, and then I click save again. It tells me that the name is missing, so it must be recorded in the company's inventory. It must be officially registered in the company's inventory. So I click save here and then look at how it is just to see what happens. Once again, let's see what the result is. And once it has been approved, it will go to approved, doc delivered. And if not, it will go to rejected as such. So do you believe it now? Let's see it in action. Let's see it in action. So I click on the entry that I want to restock, which in this case is a desktop computer. A desktop computer is a type of computing device that people use for various tasks. After selecting it, the system then prompts me to upload or provide a photo of the item. So at this point, I need to find a suitable photo, specifically a photo of a computer, more precisely a desktop computer. So I'm going to upload any photo just so you can see how the process works. Here, I'm downloading one from the internet. Save image as. I save it to the desktop. I've already saved it. So I'm going to upload the file I want to restock here. I go to the desktop. Oh, actually the photo didn't download, but let's quickly take a picture of this one instead. Done. So now I have the product I want to restock. Look at how I take a picture of it. This is the product I want to restock, and I click save. 823-423-0. Notice how I automatically started the process, and here it shows me that the request is with the supervisor, which is myself, right? So I approve it, and notice that since I approved it, the process continues. Now, who has the ball? General management approval has it. General management approves it. Now the task called supplier search comes up in the workflow. So let's take a closer look at how the system generates this task, how that task can then be carried out by the user, and how it keeps progressing step by step until the task is finally completed as such, following the intended process. And once it's finished, I will already have records of everything that's been completed, of what hasn't been finished, and what's still missing. Everything, absolutely everything, I will be able to view here as such. Notice how in this case it doesn't let me approve because it's not me. I've assigned it to Mateo. If I could have done it, I would, but I can find out who currently has the process. So I know that Mateo is the one who still hasn't approved, and here I can see the computer they're requesting and any other case. Imagine if it were petty cash, I would have the photo of the petty cash reimbursement here, among others, until the process. And look how it doesn't let me move it. It doesn't actually let me move it at all, simply because I don't have the required token, and that's exactly how the tracking process is done step by step until someone finally completes it and then moves it properly to the right place, okay? So I'm going to show you, for example, some others so you can see the examples. Look, for example, with salary advance requests, it's the same. And then you'll have the record, for example, oh, look, this is the number of advance requests we have. These are the people who handle them. These are the ones that were approved, right? So what happens to me in the company is that, for example, I have a girl who loves to request advances. She asks for advances every week, every single week. So I already told her, look, you know what? You request a lot of advances, and for us, because your account is with another bank, they charge us a fee. I know it's just a few cents, but from now on, we'll keep giving you the advances, but you're going to pay the bank fee it cost us. She didn't want to anymore, right? No, she said, not anymore. I'll just wait until the end of the month. See? So these are little things you can regulate and manage as you go. And that's basically it. I mean, RPAs aren't really that complicated, but they're much easier to set up than workflows, right? Because look, with workflows, I'm going to show you how it used to be to set up a workflow. You had to go here to the salary advance request. You had to click on the little gear. You had to go to the workflow configuration. You had to come in here and start setting it up. People didn't use it because they saw it as much more complicated, right? And you had to configure all the variables, and you had to understand process flows, and people would get confused, and that's why they ended up not using it. But now Bitrix has that other way I just showed you, which is much easier for creating internal processes, super easy, super simple. And now this one is more robust, right? With this one, I can do amazing things. I can export processes, import them. I can do a whole bunch of things. But if you're still at a basic level, the RPAs work really, really, really well as they are, okay? They're very easy to digest, very simple. Now you understand much better what these small functions actually are. So how can it help my company to eliminate human errors? Because at this point, it's already a process. And look at how I'm going to say it. You're setting up your company to scale. Just today, I went to a medical appointment. And at the appointment, it was with a doctor who is growing a lot here in Ecuador. And actually, it's not that I'm sick or anything. It's just that I'm already 35 years old. I'm pretty healthy. I don't get sick or anything, but I feel the responsibility to get a checkup every now and then just to confirm that everything is on the right track, nothing more. So don't worry about that. And I was talking with the doctor, and he asked me, hey, so what do you do for a living? He said, right? And I told him, well, we help companies to structure themselves so they can keep growing. And he said, I need that urgently, right? And for them, it's much harder because their mindset was trained for 8 or 10 years in medicine, but they are taught very little about management. So he tells me, I've got a mess in the administrative area. I sell like crazy, but the administrative side is a mess. Well, I said to him, well, my little Bitrix light, it lit up. I said, this is a potential case for using Bitrix as such, right? And well, we'll see how we're going to help him as well. And that's really good, isn't it? Because now you have traceability without human errors. You improve the speed of internal processes, unlike at the Catholic University where you had to beg for them to move your paperwork to send it to the finance department. And it was a mess. I remember the piles of papers that were everywhere, you know? Bureaucracy is reduced. So, for example, sometimes when you have really large organizations, bureaucracy also leads to corruption, right? So, I started thinking if we had these processes, you know, let me tell you, in our business, we have several ventures. One of our businesses is an X-ray center that we have in Pasaje in Ecuador. And it turns out that sometimes being the best isn't a good thing, okay? And it turns out my wife tells me that they sent someone to shut us down. Obviously, there was a missing permit at this particular X-ray center. But as we looked into it, we realized, we understood deep down that the real issue apparently was actually the competition, because after all, we're selling wholesale here, right? So it wasn't just about the paperwork. It was more about the business rivalry. And they're kind of worried about it, but it's actually going to be very hard for them to beat us. Well, but why am I telling you this? Because I was really embarrassed, since the regulatory body that shut us down is obviously taking advantage of this to ask for bribes. And they started to ask us for such ridiculous things, you know? So just imagine that one of the things they're asking us for in the X-ray center is that we have a wheelchair. A wheelchair in a small town where we have the Centro Data 2X, where, well, if someone comes with problems, they'll probably have their own wheelchair, right? But then they start asking you for these kinds of absurd things. A bathroom which I think not even the municipality itself has accessible bathrooms for people with disabilities. And yet they ask us for one. But what happens? I was just thinking how wonderful it would be if all these processes were transparent, right? If that bureaucracy could be reduced, if there weren't as much corruption as there is in all our countries, right? So countries definitely need a Bitrix and to manage things beautifully, but there's good news. Some countries, some cities have already started to use it. We already work with some municipalities. In fact, for example, the municipality of Ambato in Ecuador uses Bitrix, right? And it's one of the highest ranked municipalities in these areas, right? All right, so paper is eliminated, everything is digitized, it's beautiful, and you get transparency and traceability, and people start to focus on what's most important. They become much more productive, right? All right, well, I'm going to move on to your questions now. Before we finish, I have just a few important announcements to share with you all. First of all, for those of you who are interested and would like to download the ebook that my team and I have carefully prepared for you, I'm going to send you the download link right now at this very moment. I'll send it to each and every one of you so you can easily download it at your convenience so you don't miss it. I'm putting the link in the chat for everyone to see, and I'll also make it available and publish it here so you can access it and download it whenever you want. There you go. I've just shared the link with you all, so please feel free to check it out and let me know if you have any questions. Go to this website, which is s24crm.com RPA con Bitrix24, and you'll be able to download this ebook to help you implement these tools, okay? There's the link. I also sent it in the chat so you can see it and use it. More announcements. We have a course, the Best Bitrix course for those who are just starting out, and I know that many of you have already taken it. We're offering it during the very last week of this month. We had to move it back by a week because I'll actually be in the United States next week, as you know. And as I mentioned, just to clarify, we'll absolutely, definitely be holding it the last week, the very last week of the month, okay? So please make a note of that so that those who haven't taken it yet can do so, and we'll be delighted to train you in this wonderful tool. Just send a message. I'll put it here on the screen. Write to the WhatsApp number shown here. I want my Bitrix course. And my team will register you so you can join this amazing course that helps us. I know most of you have already taken it, but for those who haven't yet, this is your chance. Another important announcement, I'll share a little gossip about what the Bitrix managers and president told me is coming. Oh, it's going to be really great. Look, they are absolutely committed to the topic of artificial intelligence, right? In fact, just today I was sketching out the Bitrix application with the new updates. And look at how a little message already pops up here here it is, from Copilot, right? You'll see it there, Copilot. Well, it's not that visible, but we're going to have artificial intelligence everywhere. The feature is about to be released where when you have a meeting with a client, with a client or an internal meeting, Zoom already has that. But now the functions that Bitrix will offer, besides transcribing and summarizing what was discussed, will also evaluate whether the meeting was productive. In other words, you're going to tell it, hey, Bitrix, this meeting is to define the budget for 2025 for the second half of this year. Stereo, what? Whoa. And Bitrix will evaluate whether the meeting achieved its objective. Why? Because they've realized that most companies are full of pointless meetings. Full of meetings that are just yes, 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 and very little productivity. So now, artificial intelligence is going to help us become more productive. Beautiful. Okay. Another intelligence, you just saw this. We were setting it up kind of manually, right? What is Bitrix aiming for? For you to be able to say, hey, Bitrix, I want you to set up an automation so that for every client that comes in, you send them an email. Then 2 days later, you send another one. And on the third day, I want you to create a task for the salesperson to call them. You're going to give the orders to the artificial intelligence and the robots will build you an army of robots. I mean, it's beautiful. And the idea is to finish integrating all this artificial intelligence. Like for calls and for WhatsApp, we already have the AI-powered bot that handles WhatsApp. It's amazing. We've already set it up for many of you. I think I see Maximiliano there. He already has it. You haven't told me about it. Send me a message to let me know how the bot is working out for you, Maximiliano. But anyway, with many, many clients, the successes we're seeing with the AI-powered WhatsApp bot have been remarkable. If you haven't implemented it yet, write to me. Write to me so I can explain how it works, or I'll send you the link to the masterclass we talked about, which is fantastic, right? We're still thrilled with how it's helped us improve customer acquisition costs in the furniture cleaning business, you know? It's still amazing. In fact, right now we're really strengthening our presence in Colombia. We're really growing a lot in Colombia, especially because the results we're getting in Ecuador with this new tool are absolutely fantastic, truly remarkable, in fact. And honestly, it's been quite inspiring to see. So what do I really want to tell you? What's the message here? What's the real takeaway? My estimate is that next year, folks, we're going to have sales processes without any human intervention, which is going to be amazing. Okay? And we need to get ready for that. Okay? That's why it's important for us to start moving. Today, one of our businesses, for example, the furniture cleaning company, is already at 60%. In other words, 60% of the sales process is handled by an AI-powered robot, and the human only focuses on closing the deal, right? But my estimate is that next year, I'm not talking about 5 years from now, I'm not talking about 10 years from now. Next year, folks, according to my estimates, we're going to have sales processes that are completely handled by robots, and they'll be more efficient than if we humans did them. Those are my predictions, and I have a good eye for this, you know. Last year, I told you, this year, 2024, we'd have artificial intelligence attending to customers via WhatsApp, and I delivered. My prediction was, actually, it was for December, and by the end of October, I told you we already have it. I gave you the masterclass, and now many of us are already using it. Now I'm giving you my next prediction. Next year, you will be selling automatically. But it's very important that you start getting familiar with this now and begin doing what we're doing, right? At first, we set up the AI-powered bot and only gave it about 20% of the process. Then 40, then right now we're at 60%. The bots are already doing things on their own, okay? So, well, some amazing stages are coming up. Today, it's much easier than before to have a business, but only if you understand and know how all these topics work. Artificial intelligence, Bitrix, technology, processes, and everything else. So, well, there you go. You have the links. Additionally, to wrap up, 2 more things. Remember that with the Bitrix license renewal process, you get consulting hours with me. So every year you have a consulting session with me. Those of you who are about to renew, contact us. I'd be happy to help you. I'd be glad to learn about your processes and help you improve them as well. Okay? Now I'm really going to move on to the questions. Let's see. Are you done with the questions? And then we're finished. Let's see. So here we have a message from Adrian from Crowd Music. Great to hear from you, Adrian. Glad to have you here, my brother. Excellent. Eliana also greeted us here. She says she's in the software industry. Excellent, Eliana. Ah, look at that. And you're in building and condominium management. Well, we have a property management company, right? It's not the same, but we're in a similar field. First question, Oscar Mata says, is there any reason why Bitrix becomes slow? My users complain that it takes a long time to respond, and because of that, they refuse to use it. Let's see. Something's going on there, huh? No, it's not Bitrix, okay? Don't blame Bitrix, because if anything, Look, I'm going to start defending Bitrix. Hold on, there we go. I'm getting ready. Look, not with Bitrix, okay? Don't blame Bitrix. It could be the internet connection at your location causing the issue, or perhaps it's the computers you're using. They're really old machines that might not be able to handle modern software efficiently. If it's neither of those 2 factors, then you should pay close attention to the specific Bitrix plan you currently have. For example, if your business has recently grown and you now have more employees than before, you might need to consider upgrading to the enterprise plan, which is designed to support larger teams and provide additional resources and features that smaller plans do not offer. We work with the enterprise plan, and it works wonderfully for us. I have team members in different countries, even in Venezuela, which has one of the worst internet connections, and it works fine. So it's not Bitrix, okay? Check one of these 3 factors: internet, computers. Sometimes the computers are full of cookies and they're slow and all that. Or sometimes it's the RAM, because the computers just aren't up to running a system like this. And let me tell you a story that I think might be useful to some of you, maybe at this very moment, right? It was 2013 when I started the company. Well, when you're starting out, resources are extremely limited. And obviously, I bought the first computer for someone on the team to use. And I remember it so well. It was a Toshiba that I paid $280 for in 2013. I bought it in the United States and it was the first computer, right? I think after about 6 months, I realized that no, I needed a computer myself because it was way too slow. So we bought another one for around $400, which was the cheapest I could find in Ecuador. And it didn't work well for me. From then on, I adopted a really nice habit that I actually want to encourage you all to get used to as well. Now, I am responsible for purchasing Macs for my team at work. I choose to buy Mac computers for my work team because they are reliable and efficient, which helps us accomplish our tasks more effectively. It's true that they cost a bit more. These don't cost $400. They cost $1,000, $1,100. But you gain in productivity, you gain in status, you gain in your team's mindset. And you know what? They don't get viruses. They never break down. Never. Of course, take care of them because if they get damaged, if the screen breaks, it happened to one team member, they have to pay for it themselves, okay? But nowadays, when it comes to computer equipment, my recommendation is to give them the best, okay? And that's the best. And it's not even that expensive. You make it back in productivity, it'll pay for itself in the first year, and your whole team will have top-notch equipment. Think about it carefully, okay? It worked for me, and Bitrix works wonderfully, I mean, you completely eliminate the problem. Just imagine how much it's costing you when your team says they don't want to use Bitrix because it's slow. I mean, and the worst part is, it's not the fault. Here, I'll take the blame, okay? It's not Bitrix's fault. No, maybe it's the computers or the internet, or just look right here. 1, 2. Take a look at Lon Moscow's internet. I already have 2. I have the mobile one, which lets me work from anywhere in the world. In fact, I'm taking it with me to the United States now. And honestly, I don't think it's expensive. It cost me $90, the one you can take anywhere in the world. And then on the other hand, I have the other one, the fixed one, which I have in one of the properties in Quito, and that one costs $45. I don't find it expensive, and it lets you connect up to 100 devices because sometimes that's the issue, the router. The router you have doesn't have much range for everyone, and it also becomes... So one of those options is don't blame Bitrix because I have it right here. No, that's actually not the case. That's why you have to look closely. Let's move on to more questions. Here it says, I would love to be able to see this class, says Elena. I think you're referring to the one about robots with artificial intelligence. I'll send it to you right now. Let me look for it here. Bitrix24 AI chatbot. Bitrix24 AI chatbot. I've got it here already. Look, it was 4 months ago. 4 months ago. I've got the video here. I'm going to share it with you so you can take a look. It's beautiful, isn't it? We managed to bring down the cost of acquiring a customer from $18.50, which it used to be, to $3.50. There I tell the story and give you more details. I also sent you the link, Diego, so you can check it out. I just sent it to you all. Join in English, it says it could be the connection, for sure, right? And what's more, here we all use Bitrix and I spend my time traveling around Latin America, and that's not a problem at all. Gianfranco has a question. He says, hi, Luis, greetings from Lima. Lima is beautiful, isn't it? I have to go back soon, in May. In May, I'll be over there. Do you think that RPAs will replace the feed workflows? I mean, will both options be kept? No, both will be available, right? But it's going to be like for advanced users, the feed workflows. And for those who don't use those processes much, there will be the RPAs, like I said at the beginning, right? Bitrix realized that most people aren't using it. 90% of companies aren't using that. And they made something much simpler to increase the usability of the tool and obviously to improve the value of Bitrix. All right, we've answered you there. And that's it. There are no more questions. All right, I love it. Either everything was very clear or they didn't understand me. Well, but I know it was clear. Well, as with all good things, the masterclass has come to an end. I won't keep you any longer. Thank you all very much for your time. May God bless you and may you keep making lots of sales. Remember, we're already reaching the end of the first month of the second quarter of the year. So let's get to it. Let's keep the momentum going. Let's crush it in sales and keep growing our businesses. May God bless you all. Thank you and have a wonderful night, everyone. See you next time. I'll be hanging out on Instagram chatting. If anyone wants to talk a bit more, send me a message on Instagram and I'll be chatting with you there for a couple more hours. A big hug. May God bless you. Thank you. Bye.